Welcome to episode 3 of the Bald Monkeys Wrestling Podcast. I'm
We made
gonna,
it three.
I am,
Woo!
I'm immediately going to flip it over to Mr. Chris because he had something he really wanted to talk about. So, Chris, take it away.
Yeah. So as the weeks have gone on leading up to WrestleMania, I've gotten more and more frustrated with something going on all the shows, and it's the lack of storylines being built for one of the biggest pay-per-views of the year. And we're not seeing any build up for these storylines. We gave them credit for Fastlane, right? We said Fastlane was a good pay per view and they did a good job. But what happened with that is they almost had to restart a bunch of storylines, and we're getting guys walking out of the back into the ring and just going, I'm going to wrestle so and so at WrestleMania, and that's the storyline. That's the buildup, and it's frustrating. It's they're better than that. They have better characters than that. They have better mic skills than that, and I'm not convinced that they're trying. It almost seems like they're focused so much on the Becky storyline, on the Rollins storyline, and on Kofi, that they just figure everything else is secondary and doesn't matter. And I don't get it. I don't. They have so many good wrestlers on the roster that they can put a storyline behind, that they can create something. I mean, look how great the Joe AJ Styles storyline was, last year. How well that worked out, and you're getting nothing right now for Joe. You're getting Rey Mysterio bringing his giant son Dominic out of the back to just walk out and say, I'm wrestling Joe at WrestleMania. That's no build up. That's no effort. They're better than that, and I feel like they're being lazy, and it frustrates me. Box off.
I would agree. I would throw in there with the 3 storylines that you say are working. Uh, Begrudgingly, I'll say The Miz and Shane because they both keep coming out and cutting pretty good promos. Um, the Miz promo on SmackDown I thought was pretty solid, and it's kind of like, okay, all right, I'll be annoyed at other, I'll leave the Beth Phoenix match and the Kurt Angle match for myself to get annoyed at in regards to like the, McMahon family / nostalgia matches or whatever. But no, I definitely agree. I think the one of the big storylines from last year was John Cena can't figure out a match. Like he kept going through
Mm-hmm.
everything, Oh, I'm gonna go to Elimination Chamber and I'm gonna get a match. Nope. I'm gonna go to Royal Rumble and get a match. Nope. I'm gonna go to Fastlane. I'm gonna get a match. Nope. And he just couldn't get it. And so, all right, I guess I'm just gonna be a fan at WrestleMania, and that fed into that Undertaker storyline, which was it the best storyline ever? No, but that always felt like that was the storyline. Like you're never promised anything at WrestleMania, and you have to earn your way on there. So yeah, for a wrestler to just come out and say, "I'm facing him at WrestleMania," it seems a little ridiculous.
Had multiple guys do that. That's the thing. It's not one or two, right? It's been multiple guys that basically just saying what their match is. And you have guys like the Usos and the Revival that don't have a match right now. Everybody has to have a match, but you have title holders that have no storyline and no match right now. And how many weeks are we away? And
Two.
they have no time for the buildup. You're really good about like the history of it, and you always were good about like storylines and stuff. Like what's going on? Like why aren't we seeing these storylines?
Are you talking to me or Nick?
I'm talking to Nick.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, I thought you were addressing Jimmy. Excuse
No,
me.
no, no.
Um, One thing I noticed, I'll answer your question in a second, but first I'll kind of go off what you guys have been saying. I watched NXT this week, and the storyline they've been building for 2+ years. When was the NXT Chicago where DIY broke up? Was that 2017? I lose track of time. May 2017.
A while,
Yes,
yeah, yeah.
2017. I like towards
So
the
this is
back half.
So this is a story they've been building for almost 2 years, and all of a sudden, one of the key piece is out, surgery, unforeseeable circumstances, can't do it, so they got to go to Plan B. and they have an amazing main event match with 5 of the best wrestlers on their roster, and all of a sudden everyone's excited for the Takeover main event again. And I just don't think the WWE, like the top Raw and SmackDown brands, have that kind of like, there's no such thing as a plan B. There's what Vince wants, and they do everything they can to build like those 2 or 3 stories, and then they can't really focus on anything else. Like they can't, like if something were to happen to Rollins or Brock Lesnar, like they would be screwed. Like they wouldn't know what to do. They would panic. They'd throw Reigns in there. It would be terrible. And you see like stories how on NXT they're so fluid and they build and build and build. I don't know if that's because it's only an hour a week, so we don't get overrun with the same stuff over and over again or what. But I don't know. I agree with you guys both. I think that they really are kind of panicking right now, and they're putting all their efforts into 2 or 3 storylines. Sorry, Rocky wants to play. And they're not really focusing on anything else. And outside of, like you said, Becky, Shane, and Miz, and 3 or 4 things, they're not really multitasking. And WrestleMania is a 15-hour card most years, so there's a lot of other matches.
I love how you guys are like, oh, it's 12 hours. Oh, it's 15 hours. It's like
it's climbing.
It's like 8. It's 7 or 8 hours.
It's a long program, and they have all this time. There's so much time between Royal Rumble and WrestleMania to build these stories and create these stories, and they're doing a good job with a couple of them. But I agree with Chris. There's nothing really going on with the mid-card titles. There's no effort being put into the men's tag team titles, and it is kind of disheartening because is it just bad writing or they just not have any good ideas?
And that's it. Like it used to be that the panic wasn't a bad thing sometimes. Like the panic is what got us a couple of really good matches over the last year with guys getting injured or coming down with some kind of illnesses, and they had to put something together, and the panic actually helped. But I feel like there's no panic, there's no urgency. It's just they don't think they have to work that hard because the card is already so big, because they've built up the main event so much that they're just gonna say, don't worry about the mid card.
That's kind of
like we don't even know what Lashley's gonna do right now with the Intercontinental title, right? Like there's all these rumors of something big gonna happen with Finn Balor, but ultimately we don't know that that's going to have anything to do with the Intercontinental title. So that's out there still. And then the U.S. title, all it is a one-on-one match with Rey Mysterio and Joe, which I don't doubt that Rey Mysterio and Joe can put on a good match. But we were talking about it last week or the previous week where it'd be great to put that on a ladder match or some kind of four-way match or something to showcase a couple of guys that are on SmackDown that deserve the shot.
I don't know.
We got Mustafa Ali, who's not anywhere right now.
Well, yeah, but I don't know that you make a good case for the original argument when you come back and say, things happen and they panic and then they create a good match. Because what I think, I don't want to speak for you, but what I think you're referring to is like an example of like, somebody gets hurt, so we throw, Finn Balor in a match against AJ Styles or something like that.
That worked out, right? That was a good.
It worked
we
out,
have
but
to put something together, and
but
that was
there's no
good.
story. There's no story to it. It's just
a good match.
Oh my gosh, it's a good match. So by that, point, if they don't want to worry about stories, you're saying let's just put together a couple of dream matches, and then that be that, and you'd be happy with that.
But wait, here's the one. Here, so you got Kurt Angle and Baron Corbin. There is a story there, but no one wants to see that match. Times that they're putting a story together, they don't even have a good match at the end of it.
Just be happy the U.S. title's on the main card this time.
There he is.
Because it's been pre-show for the last 4 years now.
4 years.
I mean, Baron Corbin deserves opportunities, and he's getting them, and I'm happy for Baron Corbin. The only reason that the fans are rebelling against the idea of him facing Baron Corbin, or I've even read rumors where it's like, oh, they'll make it like a tag team match. Like the reason that that's no good is because if it's going to be a wrestler's final match, like ever in a WWE ring, why are you going to have him face that? I mean, look I mean, what was Ric Flair's final match
Oh,
in the
you're using my
WWE?
argument. That's my argument.
Yeah, it's what was his final match? Are we saying that Kurt?
HBK,
I mean,
Shawn Michaels.
I know that Kurt Angle is not a like Shawn Michaels legend status, but he's pretty high up there. He's a pretty big deal. So to not have him fight either John Cena or The Undertaker, to me,
Or Brock
is
Lesnar.
absolutely ridiculous. Brock Lesnar. I mean, that's
Or
not
Brock.
gonna. That's
Or
not.
Brock.
That's not gonna happen though.
No,
You know,
Brock's not gonna happen. And I doubt the Undertaker will happen. But Cena made
Cena.
sense.
It's
Cena
Cena.
got started against Angle. It made sense.
You can still do Cena. You could still have Corbin. You know, you can make this the match the entire way. Corbin Angle the entire way, all the way up to WrestleMania, and you have Angle come out, and you have Corbin's music hit, and he doesn't come out. And in the back, they roll over with a camera and they find Corbin just beat up in the back. And all of a sudden, Cena's music hits and he becomes ruthless aggression Cena. And he comes out and he fights Angle. That's the perfect angle to do it. You get Cena back out there. You do Cena Angle instead of Corbin. Done. That's the match.
Maybe that's what they're doing. We just gotta be patient.
They can have
And I'm
Corbin
cool.
tagging, being like, "I got the match. You know, you're not even here," and Cena just snap.
I like the ruthless aggression Cena. Hopefully he freestyles in the way of the ring like he used to.
oh my gosh, like that one Royal Rumble. Oh my gosh,
That
so
was
good.
that's the most amazing Royal Rumble entrance of all time. It's such a terrible rap, but you can't stop watching.
No, the most incredible entrance of all time was when he came back from injury. He wasn't
Oh, that-
rapping; he just was there. That was the most incredible entrance of all time.
Like what?
That was a good one.
Madison Square Garden.
Yeah.
Triple H was in the ring. Myself, Chuck, and Mike were up in the upper deck of Madison Square Garden.
Oh my God, you are just in love with Madison Square Garden.
There's no other place to watch wrestling, man.
There's plenty of other places I've been to them and I've watched wrestling.
If you've been to the Garden, there's no other place.
Well, guess what? You haven't been to the Garden in a long time, and you've watched a lot of wrestling since
I know. I wish. I mean, I know they just announced like they're gonna do WrestleMania next year in Tampa, which is a little bit closer to us, which is cool. But at the same time, I wish they would go back to the smaller venues. I mean, to do WrestleMania at like the Garden again would be amazing. It'd be an impossible ticket. They wouldn't make as much money, but the atmosphere would be more like how NXT is and why NXT is so popular. You know, the smaller crowd, the hardcore fans. I mean, that would be an amazing WrestleMania in itself, just to bring it down to a smaller level again. It's getting too big.
In the world that we live in with the network, where as long as you subscribe to the network, you can watch it. I don't think that's going to happen. When they were still selling pay-per-views for $50-$60 a ticket, I could see them doing Madison Square Garden again. But they just lose too much money with ticket sales for them to do that.
It's a pipe dream, but I just think it would be one of the best now. If they did it now, today, I think it would be one of the best WrestleManias ever, and it'd be the crowd.
But I think that you could do Madison Square Garden and you could upprice the tickets like a bunch and it would still sell out.
Oh, it would. But they could do a smaller pay-per-view there that's not WrestleMania. Like they could do, I don't know, Roadblock or something there.
Roadblock.
That's the
What?
one you think of?
That's the one you came up with too.
All the things he could say, and he says roadblock. Great balls of fire.
Oh, that's a good one too. Need to bring
Oh
that
my
back.
gosh. So bad. I'm like, get rid of that thing. Bring King of the Ring back, please.
Why
Like,
don't they bring King of the Ring back?
I don't
What is
know.
up with
It doesn't
that?
make any sense. It was
They
one of the
did.
best ones.
They did it with NXT 205, the little Worlds Collide nonsense they did. That was kind of like King of the Ring with the tournament. I don't know. They do a lot of tournaments now. Whenever someone gets hurt with the belt, that's kind of their go to do is have like a little tournament, so it kind of loses its luster.
King of the Ring was like that whole night was a tournament, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Wasn't Wade Barrett the last winner?
I remember him coming out in a robe and a crown. I would
Yeah, I
assume
think so. I think
I
so.
remember he won it, but I can't remember if that was the last one or not. But that was like
Was-
10 years ago.
But they were doing King of the Rings on the TV show too, right? Like they were doing like a couple of weeks like tournament and leading up to a final match, and they were calling it King of the Ring or something.
Mm.
Like maybe they would just do the last match at the pay-per-view.
I don't know. They like to tweak so many things.
The last 2 matches, and back when it was an actual pay-per-view, the whole night was just elimination matches leading to it.
That's cool, and I think we'd enjoy that now too. I mean, the Kofi match was a gauntlet match, and that's similar to what a tournament would be. Watching one of those longer gauntlet matches is interesting.
I think they need to like focus on like, let's not have like 12 pay-per-views, a year. Let's narrow it down to like 8 and make pay-per-views really mean something, like every single one of them.
I think they kind of are doing that because I looked at the release schedule and it's only like 1 or 2 a month, but that's for all brands. So like NXT has their 5, NXT UK has a couple, and then the main show has the other 8 or 9. Like I think they are heeding to that advice because for a while there, when it was Raw and SmackDown, there was pay-per-view every 3 weeks. It kind of becomes like, who cares? Like I don't want to see the Punjabi prison match.
Yeah.
Like it's overkill.
Well, what's the 8 though? Because we know I know 5 of them because I know Rumble,
the big 5.
Rumble, WrestleMania, SummerSlam, Survivor Series, and Money in the Bank are the 5, right?
I think so you have to have Elimination Chamber in there. That would be a 6 for sure.
Is that even a pay-per-view anymore?
Elimination Chamber?
Yeah,
we just had it.
It was in February.
They just brought it back. Okay. Well, you know what they used to do? They used to use the Elimination Chamber as a match within a pay-per-view.
Yes.
Well, it was the same thing with Hell in a Cell. It was just a match.
I don't know that Hell in a Cell needs to be one. I think Elimination Chamber needs to be one. I think King of the Ring needs to be one. And then it's a matter of like, I think you could get Hell in a Cell and combine it with TLC and have nothing but Hell in a Cell matches and TLC matches, and that'd be pretty compelling.
That'd be cool.
Yeah.
What about was it Steven, your idea with the stages, bringing the stages back?
Oh, 3 stages of Hell?
Yeah.
Yeah. I've always loved that match. Just some of my favorite matches. The Austin Triple H one was amazing.
Yeah, stipulation that they could add to it. What 2 wrestlers could pull that match off?
Ciampa and
Yeah.
Sorry, I had to. Go ahead.
Well, one of them's injured right now, so I don't think it's happening.
You need the ones who can carry that.
Gargano and Cole, 3 stages of Hell. Because they're doing it 2 out of 3, so you might as well have made it 3 stages of Hell because it'll go 3 stages.
I think that match will be pretty solid. I'm looking forward to it. I love
the 2 out of 3 falls matches are it's a regular match. You just have to beat the person twice. Where the 3 stages of Hell one was a cage match, one was First Blood, and one was Hell in a Cell. It was different each time. That's what made the gimmick of it work. 2 out of 3 falls, that's just you got to beat the person twice.
Yeah. I don't know. I was thinking about this the other day when we were watching Raw, and Heyman comes out there and he starts talking about Rollins and like, I can't believe that Rollins is going to face Drew McIntyre, and he's like giving Drew McIntyre all these compliments, and then Drew McIntyre comes out, and I was like, is McIntyre the next Heyman guy? Like, once they, let's say Rollins wins and, Brock decides, that's about it for me. I mean, does that pointing to McIntyre, being the next Heyman guy?
Is he
nice?
I feel like he needs that mouthpiece though, right? Like I feel like he does pretty good promos.
He does.
Yeah, I mean it's not like Rousey where Rousey can't talk, so Heyman would help her out a lot.
Rousey from before. This Rousey now I like better than the original Rousey that we got.
Okay, well don't get too far ahead of yourself. She's cut like 2 good promos since she's gone angry, and
face.
You give McIntyre to Heyman for 2 or 3 months. Just give him that platform that shows, okay, they're going to invest in him to the next level. And then you have him go on his own again.
CM Punk was a Heyman guy, so I don't know what you're talking about, like people who can talk. You know what I mean?
I just always picture a guy who's a Heyman guy is somebody who needs that mic skill help, that extra push to get over, that he's really good in the ring, but he can't pull off the mic skills and he needs some time. That's what Lesnar's issue always was. Lesnar really had nothing on the mic, but he was a monster in the ring. So, but yeah, you're right. CM Punk obviously didn't need anybody on the mic to help him.
We could pull double duty and like do Rousey and McIntyre, and then it's just a matter of like, oh no, I'm doing people that are really strong forces, but he's also acting as the mouthpiece for Rousey.
Rousey's gonna be gone.
I look forward to it.
She'll be sporadic at best when she's gone.
I don't know, man. We also said Brock Lesnar would be gone.
And
That-
Here we are. WrestleMania 1 year later, and he's still here.
I still can't believe Reigns lost that match. That still baffles me. That was a good swerve, though. I did not see that coming.
So after this WrestleMania, he's officially fought all the Shield members at WrestleMania now.
It's
And-
true.
Beaten all the Shield members.
it's
at WrestleMania.
damn true.
Oh, the question. Well, beaten 2 out of the 3. We'll see if he beats the 3rd one at WrestleMania.
Mm,
I know I
it's
was
gonna be
on this.
interesting.
I know I was on this kick last week, but watching all these, building matches towards WrestleMania, I can't drop this issue of mine. The nostalgia at WrestleMania is fucking killing me right now. It's like everything has to be some like nostalgic, like, oh, somebody's coming back to fight, like Beth Phoenix and Natalia versus
Called it that way. I called it
Tamina
that way.
and Nia. Like, that's what we're calling a WrestleMania match. That's what we're calling a good WrestleMania match. It sounds awful to me. And then, Batista Triple H, like, again, I think I said, like, that's the one I'm giving kind of leeway to. And I'm, to this point, not really yet complaining about Angle, versus hopefully Cena. But that match that he had with Chad Gable was so bad. And it was just a matter of, like, he's just getting older. His movement isn't as good, and there was a couple times where like it was almost like they were trying to do something and somebody forgot the cue, and then like Chad just like bumped into him a couple times and then like bounced off and then flipped around to his back. I'm like, what's going on? Like, it was very disorienting. It's like, what's going on? What's going on? And you're like, that was like an awkward botch, like not even a salvageable botch, like almost like, Jinder Mahal getting hit by a whisper in the wind and like just falling
It was
down.
a wet
Angle's
knock.
better in the ring against bigger people now. That's the thing. He can't move with the quicker ones anymore. That's why Chad basically ran circles around him and ran into him repeatedly. He just can't do it anymore.
Well, you can. Yeah, Kurt has trouble walking, let alone moving in the ring.
I think he's
I
gonna
just
kill
think-
himself every single time he does an Olympic slam.
They need to push Chad as the next Angle. Let him start, being that character. He could do it. He's got the skill set.
I mean, almost like his son,
Well, yeah, because,
Jordan.
thank you. Yeah, like how did you not see that coming? Like why wasn't he Kurt Angle's son? Why was Jason Jordan his son?
Well, when they
Like-
first called them up to the main roster and they did the 2 of them were going for the tag titles, they did the whole thing where his parents came to the show to see his childhood dream come together. And it
Oh.
was literally 2 months later they released, Angle's illegitimate son. So it was kind of still fresh.
I mean, Jason Jordan's parents.
Yeah, Jason Jordan's parents, they did a whole network special on how American Alpha, that was their name, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, them coming up to the main roster and getting a shot of the tag titles at a pay-per-view in his hometown, and his parents were there, and they did the whole behind the scenes thing, talking to him, interviewing him with his parents about how it was his childhood dream to do this and be tag champions, and then bam, they split them up 2 months later.
Do fans really care? I mean, I watch wrestling documentaries all the time where they're just fully broken of kayfabe, and they don't even pretend like for a second that any of these storylines mean anything outside of the
That's
ring.
true, but at the same time, that was still, I mean, that was what, 2 years ago now? They were still trying to push the whole network. We got to get subscribers. We got to keep subscribers. And they wanted people watching the content. You couldn't show content and then change it 2 months later to fit into a different storyline just because it made sense. The whole storyline didn't make sense, though. They were just trying to push Jordan. And
I was
they
gonna
did
say
it.
it doesn't really make sense, right? Like,
Did you know that the Undertaker can never actually die because he's immortal? Oh wait, never mind.
Has he died yet, though?
A couple times.
Been buried alive a few times.
By his brother, who's not really his brother.
Oh, he's a mayor.
Yes, he is the mayor.
I live in a great state.
So, James, you mentioned that the nostalgia match. That's not even an official match yet. The Beth Phoenix and Natalia match. They haven't even announced that as a match.
The only other thing that they might do with them is it's looking kind of like triple threatish, or maybe fatal four-way like title match for the women's tag team titles, because
iconic.
they're showing Iconics, and then they've also kind of hinted Nia, Tamina, and then so I think they're either going to be two separate matches or there'll be one match. One match makes a little bit more sense because let's be honest, you can't have too many female matches in there because there's not that many of them that are able to carry those matches lately.
The two best ones are sitting in the title match.
It's going to be a car crash of a match if you put all four tag teams in it. It's going to be a car crash.
I don't know that it would actually be that bad because especially if they like spend some time to choreograph it, it could actually be better than having, less people in there.
Did you watch Elimination Chamber?
They were also in a cage.
Yeah. And they had the ability to utilize the cage to make it interesting.
The problem though is, I'm sorry. The problem with not having the cage though is that when you knock somebody out of commission in the cage, they lay there in the frame of the camera shot, and you just see them laying there, and you realize, oh my gosh, they've been laying there forever, and it kind of destroys like the imagination of it. Whereas if they get thrown out of the ring and then they're not in the shot anymore, it's like you kind of forget them temporarily and can focus on what's happening in the ring.
Yeah. Very good point, Jimmy.
So the Iconics win the women's tag titles at Mania. Is that what you're saying?
I never picked anybody. I would lose all of my faith in WWE if Natalya and Beth Phoenix won it. Anybody other than those two would be fine. And what's interesting is them as a tag team, like they're probably, if I were to rank the tag teams, like my second favorite tag team of the four, but they need to stay away from it because it's a title. Is Beth Phoenix really going to wrestle for, X amount of time after this?
They'll give it to the next pay-per-view.
And she's been on the road a little bit with them doing all the commentary. So she could travel just as much as, say, Daniel Bryan or Brock Lesnar's traveling right now, right?
I guess, but I'm fine with her being a commentator.
But these wrestlers that leave and don't have injuries that prevent them from wrestling have the itch to come back, and especially the women right now because they have the itch to come back because they didn't have these opportunities when they were wrestling, right?
Yeah. What this is they're bringing her in because Trish and Lita didn't want to do WrestleMania for the women's tag titles because they didn't think it made sense. So, let's bring back some other legend lady that's retired and see what we can do. And they didn't have another two they could put together. So we'll put Beth Phoenix with Natalia.
Am I the only person who misses Alexa Bliss?
Oh, Jimmy, you took the words out of my mouth. I love me some Alexa Bliss. She needs to do something more than host WrestleMania.
I don't have an issue with her hosting WrestleMania as long as she doesn't do too much of like the, getting hot and bothered over every single guy that walks out there. Like on a Moment of Bliss, it was like a weird turn in her character, where she's all of a sudden like all gropey with some of these guys occasionally, or like talking to them that way, if you know what I mean.
Kind of uncomfortable, really. Like it really is. It's kind of uncomfortable watching her play that character. It doesn't seem like her character at all.
But aren't those things that like she suggested?
No, I don't think so.
I don't know.
But one thing I will say is they could for sure use her to put over, like, there's a couple women's wrestlers who are, decent in the ring but don't have many mics. Like, she could carry a rivalry by herself with her being she's great on the mic. And if you put her with like a face who's pretty good in the ring, like you could have a decent little program. I don't know why they don't go that route with her more so than the one they're kind of going right now.
I think her and Mickie James are a good tag team.
they were great. They had a great little program too before they became a tag team. When Mickey James called her a biscuit butt, and that whole little thing that was going on, that was a pretty good program, I think. And neither of them could really go in the ring that well at that point. But still, I mean, that's back when the women's title was, I don't know, I think it was a little bit better, at least for the Smack. I know that was the Raw one, but the way the SmackDown one being treated right now, where they don't know what to do for Asuka. I mean, at least there was like a
Well, there you go. That's what you do for Asuka. Send Bliss over to SmackDown.
that would be pretty perfect.
Oh, the Bliss isn't ready for
Well, she's
This is
coming
not
off
ready for
injury.
Asuka.
She's coming off injury too, right? So she's been out a little bit, but I think, I mean, I hate to be the broken record where every week I've got to give Ember Moon some love. When Ember Moon comes back, she needs to be in programs with Asuka. And in the same way, if Asuka doesn't have the belt and they don't want to push Ember Moon towards a title right away, I think that they would be a great tag team.
Them to lose a great singles competitor by putting them in a tag team right now, though. I hate to say that, but these tag titles are, yeah, they're just not where they wanted them to be. They're trying to push it. They're trying to push it, but
They're
let's
never
not
going to
forget
be.
about the singles titles, right? We've pushed the singles title on SmackDown way to the side now, right? And we're not even focused on it, to the point where, again, Asuka has no opponent for WrestleMania. She's going to end up in a triple threat match with Mandy Rose and
Sonya Deville.
what's her name? Sonya Deville. Thank you. So, like, you're killing your other titles by trying to push the tag title, and you're not even being successful in pushing the tag title.
It leads to a funny point, though, is that we're guilty. I'm going to say all of us as a whole are guilty, because we complain that, man, it seems like there's lots of good women wrestlers. They really need to add another title to the mix. And now they've added the tag title to the mix, and it's all of a sudden, I don't know if there's enough, good talent to like actually make this work. It's like, so we actually learned the hard way that, well, maybe we were wrong.
That's because they needed another singles woman title, not
Card.
a tag title. They don't have the strength in the roster for the women right now to do that.
Well, they don't. They have it across all 3 shows, but not 2 shows.
Yeah, but you've only seen the titles mainly on Raw at this point. Like, they don't have another dominant team they can have step up to build the programs everywhere.
Yeah, I mean, I think, well, they've got a couple, but I just don't understand why they've booked people the way that they've booked people. Like, why did they, like, Mandy Rose and Sonya Deville against Asuka doesn't really make sense when they are a strong tag team, and that would be a natural way that you would push it.
Well, they don't have anybody else, though. That's the problem. I think you were pretty well right with Ember Moon. I think they were working Ember Moon into possibly an Asuka Ember Moon match at WrestleMania, and when she got hurt at Royal Rumble, they had a scramble, and they scrambled nothing. They don't know what to do. They put the triple threat on Raw, and they basically didn't have anybody that could match up one-on-one well with Asuka. And I don't know that they will until somebody gets called up.
Think about it. Naomi, I was thinking about her. I think she's part of in that backlash from the whole accident. I don't think Jimmy or whichever got in trouble. I think Naomi's taken the fall of it, because I haven't seen her on TV or nothing in forever, it feels like.
And she's been laid pretty low since that incident.
She's really the best one, I think, to go up against Asuka, honestly, of what you got left.
Right now, yeah. Unless they switch somebody over or bring somebody up, which
again, you could switch. God, Mickey James.
Baszler.
Mickey James would be good enough to do it.
But been around for about a year.
Baszler's the one that I think could come up right now and actually have a decent run with Asuka. I think she's very improved and she's done well, and I think her and Asuka could put on a decent program. But then you have to then move the title on NXT, and that's for Saturday night with maybe like an Io Shirai, or I don't know. I don't know if they're gonna move it to what's the other girl's name with the hair? Thank you, Bianca Belair. So I don't know why names are escaping me today.
EST.
Bianca Belair is quite
After
ready.
WrestleMania.
Move it. They can move it Saturday night and then all of a sudden just push somebody on Sunday. I'm sorry, Friday night. Actually, I apologize. Friday night.
I don't know if it might be better, like, if you moved it to somebody like Io Shirai and then you moved like Kairi Sane up and had Kairi Sane have a program with Asuka. What Nick would say, everything that Vince McMahon hates.
Yeah, that'd be his nightmare. So don't hold your breath on that.
Kairi
right.
Sane, it reminds me of like Sasha Banks and how like reckless she is sometimes. Like how reckless in her bumps.
Oh man, she takes some good bumps.
Right. They look great, but she's very reckless. So it'd be interesting to see her fight one of the, headliner people, because I would wonder how messy it would look or how bad of a bump she would take. What about the Riot Squad?
Yeah, I mean, well, yeah, that's a decent tag team. That's a decent tag team, and you have a decent singles competitor in Ruby Riot.
So like
They too. I feel like
they could have moved them over, and they could have already been over there for the Asuka match. They could have came over.
It could have been an alright match if they would have done it right.
Oh, but I mean, now we're lost for a match, and we're gonna end up with a triple threat that ultimately one of them could take the pin, and Asuka could lose the belt.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Every match is a triple threat match by the end of WrestleMania.
It's the year of the 6-man tag.
Bring those tag titles in.
Oh, they're not ready for that.
Yeah.
Speaking of lost for a match, I wanted to bring this up earlier and I forgot, but I'm bringing it back around now. What does Braun Strowman's future look like? Because he is in a spot right now.
They use Braun Strowman for comic relief all the time now.
He's the new Big Show.
Is that his future? The next or the new Big Show? Maybe get like an heroic. I mean, because he could be a great Paul Heyman guy. Hey, you've won everything but an important title. Come with me. I'll put you to the mountaintop, and then you give him like a big push. Like, is that what you do with Braun Strowman?
Eventually.
You missed that opportunity. I feel like that was back last year when Braun and Brock were feuding, and you could have had Heyman turn on Brock, and it would have been perfect for Strowman to become a Heyman guy. And he didn't even have to have Lesnar go away. You could have just had a feud for a while where Heyman was with Strowman to give him a push,
like they did the Big Show.
Exactly. It's the same storyline, but hey, we recycle storylines all the time.
Yeah. Well, they re-signed Brock, and that's what kind of pooed all over that.
I mean, I think that when you look at Braun being a Heyman guy, I don't think they totally missed their spot, and they only kind of rehashed it a little bit when randomly they had that bit where Braun was leaving and then Heyman came out and then Braun walked by him and basically was grabbing him and like getting ready to beat the crap out of him, and Paul Heyman looked like he was frightened to death, and it had nothing to do with what was going on with Brock Lesnar. It was just like a random thing. They could build off of that. It's never dead. I mean, nothing in wrestling's ever really dead. They definitely missed their initial opportunity with Braun Strowman, but if you don't take advantage of it the first time, you just got to go back to the drawing board. And again, it always comes back to what I'm always saying about, like the whole absence makes the heart fonder. It's like, take him off the show for a little while. Get him off the show so that people aren't thinking about him. And then when something starts to stagnate, bring him back out. You know, I really think that Braun Strowman shouldn't have anything to do with these SNL knuckleheads. I think that if you're going to have Finn Balor not be in an Intercontinental title match, why not have Braun Strowman go against Bobby Lashley? Big guy,
But
be
that
big
could be
guy.
maybe to get rid of Braun for a few months, like you said, write him off, have him get into it with them, and then have Shane or Vince fire him for attacking celebrities, and then bring him back in 2 or 3 months at a pay-per-view to attack whoever's champion, to throw him right back in the mix.
They don't have like a big guy out there that they can bring in and have some random new wrestler or some returning wrestler come back and be the guy that's standing in the SNL guy's corner, making these little Twitter war comments about how that someone might have to teach him a lesson. But who would that even be? Is there even anybody out there that you would like legitimately be like, oh wow, pretty cool, they brought back so and so to face Braun Strowman?
They're gonna bring in the Undertaker.
I've got one. You ready for it? The Great Khali.
Oh jeez.
It'll be Taker's Mania match. He'll come out there and squash Strowman.
Here you go. And I know you're gonna hate me for this one, Chris. Just go out, find the most generic guy that you can find that's just really huge, that maybe has no experience at all, and just put him in the Giant Gonzalez outfit. I would love it. I actually had a really great question the other day, and I'm gonna pose this. I'm gonna pose this question to all you guys because I think this is just the greatest speaking topic ever. Name a wrestler that had a gimmick that almost everybody hated, but you loved. I know it's difficult.
And it can't be Shinsuke Nakamura.
I mean, I could I guess take that as an answer, but I think people like Shinsuke. I was at a house show and people loved Shinsuke, so they just don't like him right now because they're not booking him right, and he's in a really bad tag team.
All right, so I have one.
All right, let's hear it.
So I is really big into Pirates of the Caribbean. I liked it a lot.
Oh God, I know exactly where you're going.
Paul Burchill.
Oh,
I actually enjoyed the Paul Burchill pirate gimmick. It was funny. It was he was a pirate. It was cool. I honestly did enjoy it because James, we talked about this earlier in the week, and I've been thinking about it. And Paul Burchill.
Good stuff. How about you, Steven? You got one?
I actually liked the Miz's old chick magnet gimmick. When he wore the jean shorts and he had that weird hat and the gloves. I thought that was good. He was like the real world guy coming in, so it fit his character at the time.
That was a bad one too.
Oh man. So the two that I threw out to Chris when I was at work the other day, and each time, because I was just like, man, I really want to see this at the Royal Rumble. One of them is any form of be like the gobbledygooker, or like you remember when Jack Swagger had the eagle that would follow him around? I love that stuff. That stuff is so bad when it happens, but I guess that's part of my enjoyment of it, is like after the fact when I'm just like, oh my God, that was great. I mean, and I was really being serious about, let's just get a really big guy who can't wrestle and make fun of Giant Gonzalez and have him put the Giant Gonzalez suit on. And I would just absolutely adore that. I wouldn't even care if he couldn't wrestle. It's but if you're going to give me a comedy centric match, I don't want to see Braun Strowman attack the SNL guys. Have him do that. Let him get on Vince McMahon's bad side, and Vince McMahon goes, oh, I got a match for you, and he just sends out this giant guy wearing a Giant Gonzalez shirt.
Or the gobbledygooker.
Oh my God, the goblet, that would be even better. How about you, Nick? You got one?
This one, so a lot of people, I don't know if everyone hated it, but a lot of people hated when The Undertaker did his little biker, big evil
I love the American Badass.
I love the American Badass too.
Okay, well, I know it gets a bad rap, amongst some people. So that'd be one where, I hate the regular Undertaker, the slow walk to the ring, I can't die, yada, yada, yada. But I did like the American Badass. So
I missed like the corporate ministry Undertaker.
that
Like
was a
back
good
when
one.
he got really, really
Ooh.
dark. Man, that was like Undertaker at his best.
Sacrificing Austin and Stephanie.
Oh, man, love it.
Edgy TV, man. That was some interesting story. There you go. There's storylines, right? There was story build up there, and there was a huge twist at the end of it too, right?
It was a shitty twist at the end.
That and I, we were talking about this too. I love the Brood so much. I wish they still existed.
Gangrel.
The new Brood.
Oh man, I love Gangrel, man. He's awesome.
Original Brood.
He's a porn director now.
Yeah. Do you remember when they like came down and like helped Undertaker, or like they hung Big Boss Man in that Undertaker match? Like, ooh, wholesome wrestling. Let's hang Big Boss Man.
There was a reason I wasn't allowed to watch wrestling when I was younger. It was storyline like that, and that was a tough one to get across. With your parents, you're 6.
Oh, they killed a bunch of people back in the day.
Yeah.
They still do it sometimes. I mean, when like Roman Reigns, like, had Braun Strowman in the ambulance and just like destroyed him into like the. Do you guys remember that? You remember how painful that was when they had like the jaws of life and they were like, we're going to show the whole thing. And it took forever for them to take the door off with the jaws of life. I'm like, oh my gosh, just open the door.
Forgot how to use the jaws life.
Like I can suspend my my disbelief for like a second, so that you can I get the point.
They make the guys look like superheroes when they do that. Like when GBL hit Cena with the car, and then the next night on Raw, Cena was back. Fine. You lose some of the pageantry with it when you do it that way.
But how many weeks was Becky limping around?
Sometimes on the wrong leg. She would constantly push off with the bad leg. I mean, she wasn't very good at selling the injury.
There's only
They tried to do the same angle like they did with Seth, though, because she threw the crutch and everything, just like Seth did leading up to him versus Triple H.
bad with the knee injury. He sells that knee every to this day. He still gets that knee hurt once. It's incredible how long he once a match. He holds on to his knee. You're like, uh-oh, he did it again. Oh,
And he legitimately got hurt before that, though. He legitimately hurt that knee.
Yeah, he was out for a while. He had to forfeit the title because of that at a house show.
I believe it's been 2 knee injuries that he's had, and I heard in an interview once that each time was a freak accident. Like wasn't like a typical way you would expect to hurt yourself. Like each time was a freak accident.
Oh,
And
actually,
he
rolled
landed
up.
normal, and it happened.
Speaking of big accident, Lars Sullivan. Just kidding.
That's who they have face Braun at WrestleMania.
Nick 1, Lars Sullivan 0.
No, that guy's not coming back anytime soon. If he even if he did, I'd just be like, oh, okay, whatever. He's gonna.
Hey
have
man, he can be happy with the fact that he was in a 5-star match.
He was in a 5 match. That was a great ladder match.
So are they gonna be
this year?
Are they gonna be able to have a great
Like
what's the takeover card right now? So we got Velveteen and Riddle.
that's a match. I don't know. I'm sure it'll be a good match. Velveteen makes his matches good, but Matt Riddle a little bit rusty.
Riddle's pretty good. Riddle's getting there. You
He's
gotta give him
getting
time.
there.
Right?
I know.
He's athletic. Yeah.
Yeah. And then you got the 2 out of 3 Cole and Gargano match, which I'm sure it'll be an amazing match.
Baby.
And then the tag title match, which is weird that you got Ricochet and Black gonna get a title shot pay-per-view or 2 nights before pay-per-view when both of them have gotten a great push coming up to WrestleMania.
That could have been better used for someone else. I agree.
They're probably going to have a WrestleMania match too. That's the crazy thing.
They will. They're gonna lose. They're gonna lose the NXT tag title match, and then they could set up them going against each other on the main roster, or it could just help strengthen them for the main roster.
Well, I could see them doing another like multiple tag team match at WrestleMania, and they be the surprise entrance. Kind of not as big as the Hardys were, obviously coming back, but they could put the Revival in a match at WrestleMania with Gable and Bobby Roode, and maybe they don't know that it's going to be a triple threat, and then all of a sudden they come down and it's a triple threat.
I've seen that match before.
Or have them take them out, Bobby Roode and Gable. Have the Revival beat them down before the match because they don't want to have a match. They want the night off. And then they find their replacements at the last minute. And
Maybe.
Sorry.
can you hear me?
I think the best thing to do with Ricochet and Aleister Black is to honestly give the titles to them. Is that too crazy of an idea?
The Raw titles?
Yeah. I mean, have they not earned that with the fans a little bit? I mean, now they've been getting the push. I mean, but who else are you going to put it on? Who's more compelling than them? I mean, the best thing for Gable and Rude is for them to lose, to one of them to take a pin, and for them to split up. Because Gable could be very good on his own, and Rude as a heel could be very good on his own.
Rude's a great heel, and I've never understood why they brought him up as a face.
Because he's glorious.
Grace is a heel. I hate the fact that Gable has to mimic a whole, character. I know he's not the greatest on the mic, but I mean, even you just let Gable hang out with Kurt Angle and just do a bunch of Kurt Angle gimmicks the whole time. I would enjoy that more than what he's doing now with Rude.
Which even though he does the Rude gimmick, he didn't do any of that the other night against Kurt Angle.
Yeah, that was definitely a one-time kind of like, I'm fighting Kurt Angle. I'm coming out dressed almost as Kurt Angle.
Yeah, or American Alpha E. Yeah.
They need to do something with the tag titles because there's really nothing leading up to WrestleMania right now. The Usos seem like they're on a course to take the Hardy Boys on at WrestleMania, which I'm sure it'll be a good match because the Usos honestly are some of the best tag team wrestlers. But that kind of leaves a couple of pretty decent tag teams on the outside, with the Bar not being in a match.
I mean, I don't know. I don't know. I would almost
the New Day not being in a match.
I would almost be happier just like let every single tag team match just be some chaotic, crazy multi-tag team match. Because I sure as hell can't choose who I would want to go against who.
It'd be great to just have a huge ladder match for both titles. Unify the titles. But there's not enough time to lead that storyline up to it.
But you have the opposite problem with that. Like you have too many good wrestlers to do that. You make a bigger problem if you do that. Not unless you're going to add an extra singles title to both shows.
Well, that's the point where you decide maybe it's time to start bringing up that mid-card title that you put on NXT. That North American title, I don't think is going to stay on NXT. The more I think about it, the more I think that North American title is going to show up on the main roster. I could just see Velveteen just literally bringing it with him to the main roster.
I mean, I think the NXT should be a main roster.
If it isn't already. It'd be interesting to see if in that big chaotic tag match that you're talking about, if they finally let somebody get their first win in how many matches has he lost now?
Oh, having to do Kurt Hawkins.
What if WrestleMania is the point where Kurt Hawkins finally wins a match and he wins it with Zack Ryder?
I mean, I think.
Lose it the next night, right? Like they pin the Revival at WrestleMania.
I mean, I think if you're gonna have Kurt Hawkins actually win a match, it's got to be at one of the big pay-per-views. It's got to be. So I feel like it's got to either be at WrestleMania or SummerSlam. Rumble doesn't make a whole lot of sense.
That would be a good way to end the streak.
They haven't really. They teased it a little bit.
Oh.
Storyline with the two of them.
I would love them to just always like talk. Like it would almost be kind of like fun way of doing like a throwback joke or whatever. Just constantly like every promo that they do for it, they talk about the streak. Is the streak gonna go on? Kind of like playing off of Undertaker's streak. Only we're talking about Kurt Hawkins losing.
It's an interesting flip on a terrible storyline.
Yes.
That we had to deal with for years.
It was only terrible in that they made their biggest mistake not letting Shawn Michaels just beat The Undertaker.
I think that was the right call. I think the mistake was made by letting Brock Lesnar take it because he didn't need that on his resume. That could have been if Roman Reigns' first win ever, or if Undertaker's first WrestleMania loss ever was to Roman Reigns, it would have been a bigger deal than what it was when Reigns beat him a couple years ago. That would have been noteworthy if Reigns ended the streak.
How would it have been any different? People still would have probably felt the exact same way. Like, they're pushing Reigns too hard.
That's real heel heat, though. I mean, because it was insignificant.
He already had real heel heat.
Well, give him more. Just let him. That could have been the turning point right there.
And it's not even real heel heat from the standpoint of like it's healed face heat because they want Roman Reigns to be the face of the business. So they're pushing him always to be a face, but the fans don't agree and they heel him themselves. Like that's not what a heel is. That's just a wrestler that people don't like.
Well, we like him now.
Do we?
I mean, I don't mind. I'm happy to have him back. They're not forcing him down my throat, so I'm perfectly happy to have Roman back. Now, if they continue to do the same thing and he becomes like the Uber face and they push him really hard again, yeah, I'll probably fucking boo again because there's no. I mean, come on, like. I don't know. But at the same time, they're giving the fans, a lot of fans, I think, especially this WrestleMania, what they're looking for, what they want. So I guess, if you have Kofi win and you have Becky Lynch win and you have Seth Rollins win, then you know what? Do whatever you want to with Roman Reigns.
Well, that's an assumption. You're assuming they're going to give us what we want.
Well, of course. And I would actually assume that one of those three matches is not going to go the way that we think it is.
I think Brock Lesnar wins. Like I think we continue to see Brock Lesnar win because Vince is just going to sign him again. Last minute, get him another contract, and Brock continues to hold on to that title.
That's the only one that I would be annoyed if they didn't go the direction I think they're going. Because, again, I mentioned this last week, you have Seth Rollins win. There's so many storylines you can do off of that. Whether you go Roman coming out and being a heel, or Dean Ambrose going after him, or having the Demon come out. Like I had said, there's rumors that the Demon might be at WrestleMania, and I was worried about it being the Undertaker. But really, if you're gonna have the Demon at WrestleMania, then don't put Balor in a match, or maybe put him in a match early, or something. But he loses again, or something, or he wins, or I don't know. But you remember how with the Rumble, you were like, okay, we're gonna go into the Rumble. I want Balor to have a match. And then, or be like number one
early in the Rumble,
yeah,
early in the Rumble, and get eliminated as Balor.
Yeah, and then come back as the Demon, right? You do the same thing at WrestleMania. Yeah, you have the same thing happen at WrestleMania. Why not? Have have him come out, face Bobby Lashley really early in the show, and maybe even win the Intercontinental title. And maybe the Demon comes out and he doesn't have the title with him because the Demon's different, right? and he comes out, Seth wins. Seth is in the middle of the ring holding the title up, and then dum 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 dum, here comes the Demon. I think that's a pretty good way to end WrestleMania.
Oh, and you just brought up an interesting point. Is that the end to WrestleMania?
I think it should be.
Are you talking about the main event being Brock Lesnar and Seth Rollins?
I think it should be. And the point I would make is I have mentioned that I really would like them to let Becky go away for a little while, and they couldn't do it. They had to put her on SmackDown. And there wasn't much talking. They didn't say anything to each other. So it's like, okay, you're halfway there. I don't have to listen to her. But no, she's still there. It was an unnecessary segment. And it's like, what are we doing with Kevin Owens? Because we don't know what we're going to do with him. Oh, we'll have him do the Kevin Owens show, which was great. Love Kevin Owens. But that bit served no purpose. It did not help move the story forward for me. What can they do to make the story better? They can leave it on the shelf for the 2 weeks that they've got left.
Begging for that, and they haven't done it yet.
They get too much of a pop when they come out. They're going to keep doing it. People are coming to see if they're going to do anything.
All right, well, I'm telling you, I'm fucking over the match. I'm over it. I do not care.
You've been over it for a month and a half.
Because they've been fucking beating the dead horse for a month and a half.
Oh,
It's like, oh
Steven,
my God, we have to have her come out or else we won't sell shirts. Get the fuck out of here.
Steven, you're a big Becky fan. Do you think on this course right now they're still going to main event? Like, I thought in the beginning that they really had a chance to main event, but I feel like it's almost going the opposite direction lately. Like, I really feel like the way the storyline's going, I don't know that they're the main event anymore. I mean, they're one of the main events, obviously, but I don't know that they're going to be the last match.
I think they follow Seth versus Brock, but I think Kofi Daniel Bryan is going to be the main event.
Forgot about your Kofi love.
I disagree with that wholeheartedly.
How? With how they've been booking it when he finally gets the opportunity? And they might not even announce he has the opportunity until WrestleMania. But I think that'll be the last. I don't think Seth and Brock are the final show.
You also don't think Becky, Ronda, and Charlotte are the final match either.
No, they like James said, they beat it. They beat the horse to death over and over and over. But then they shot it twice for good measure, and it's just it wouldn't make sense. It's not. It wouldn't be good booking to let them close the show at this point because your expectations are going to be way too high, and they're not going to be able to deliver the way they're wanting to because they've overdid stuff. They oversold the injury. They overpushed this, and it's just they've done too much to it. They ruined it to where it's not worth the main event. And I'm a huge Becky fan. I was very behind this match for a long time, and they killed it.
What about you, Nick?
Well, personally, I think it should be AJ Styles and Randy Orton show.
Oh my God! Shut your mouth.
If I had to pick a realistic choice, I think they've.
What does that even mean? A realistic choice? Do you listen to yourself?
I think that opens the show, actually.
The women's match too much to not do at this point. Like, they would get backlash if the women didn't close the show at this point. So I think they've kind of backed themselves into a corner.
Well, I think that's why they've been calling the main title matches the main events now, instead of just pointing towards the women's title being the main event.
I think the women's title closes the show. I think Becky Lynch standing tall. I mean, I saw an article today on Twitter. Her little Popo doll or whatever the heck they call those things. It was number one after being released. I mean, she's still. I mean, people, wrestling fans, nerds, little kids, like she's very over everywhere. So I think that's still going to be the match that closes the show. Even if it's pretty obvious at this point and it's not going to deliver the way we want it to, it's still going to go on last because that's what they've been building the last 2 months.
Well, here you go. Here's an option. How about how about the women's match closes and you think it's ending and here comes Becky Lynch. I'm assuming Becky Lynch is gonna win. And she's holding the title up and everybody's so happy. And then look, here comes Seth Rollins to join her in the ring. And they join her in the ring and they totally go, yeah, fuck the women. And they do like the next person that's gonna face Seth Rollins as a bit. Like Roman Reigns comes out there and just spears Seth Rollins, and then all of a sudden, like Becky pushes herself to the side out of frame. I could see them doing that.
I don't see it happening.
Or maybe they'll just have Kofi and Becky in the middle of the ring, and the fans will get exactly what they want, and they'll be able to pop for the two faces that they love so much. Only wait a second, when's the last fucking time that ever happened? That's why I'm confused as to why.
I have an answer. WrestleMania 30 with Daniel Bryan and WrestleMania 21 with Batista and John Cena. So
okay,
we're due.
Are we
Eddie
due?
Guerrero,
Wait a second.
Yeah, Eddie Guerrero, Chris Benoit. Yeah.
What? Okay, and which one was that?
WrestleMania 20.
So
Yeah.
so 20, and then you
21.
said 21, and then 30.
30.
Okay.
And what are we up to this year?
35.
The Seth Rollins one was pretty cool. I don't think that's what fans want to go in tonight, but that was such a great moment. That saved a
I
pretty.
think the closing of Mania is going to be the New Day holding Kofi up with the title.
Are you secretly writing for WWE, James? Is that what's or Steven, excuse me, is that what's going on?
Dude, if I was writing for WWE, we'd be at WrestleMania backstage.
So true. So true. I'm definitely not writing. I definitely am not writing for WWE because I'm way too critical of like half of their storylines.
What a tough, like, think about how we talk about like the P-break matches and how do you like line up the matches in a show. How tough is it going to be to put those matches on the card? Like, where do you put all those title matches on the card? How do you
can't put them
three?
back? Yeah, you can't really put them back to back to back. That's a little bit rough.
Yeah,
you can
so
start at the. You can start.
For the IC title, it's going to be on the pre-show. I hate to say that. One
The
of those
IC title?
titles is going to be on the pre-show, and I don't think Joe and Ray are on the pre-show.
Yeah, there is a title match in the pre-show. It's called the Cruiserweight title.
Buddy,
I think you let them be the first or second match on the main show.
I mean, it's going to be tough. Like, what matches do you put in between them? Like you said, you can't be like all in a row. So how do you put them? Who do you put in between? I guess you put Orton and Styles in between one of those matches.
that's not a P-break match. That's the best match of the night. So you got to.
It's WrestleMania. None of them are P-break matches, right?
Probably.
There was
Angle.
one. There's an Undertaker match. If Undertaker has a match, it's a P-break match.
The Angle match. Angle Corbin will be that way. Yep, you're right.
Corbin will be an in-betweener, and it'll probably be the Styles and Orton one. And unless, like you said, Steven, maybe they open with that one.
It would be a great way to open it and get people going. And I think the Angles match is going to be right before one of the main title matches. Either Seth versus Brock or whoever Daniel faces. Whether it be Kofi or whoever. But I think that's going to be, because that's your sleeper match before the exciting championship matches at the end.
Is
I can't believe it. For an Angle match, a sleeper match, but yeah.
is Kofi be a singles match against Daniel Bryan?
Yes,
Are you sure?
I think so. I'm 97% sure.
Ooh, we got 3%. All right. So with that 3%, with that 3%, what would they do? What do you envision them doing? So Kofi's obviously still not in the match, right? So who else do you put up against Daniel Bryan all the way up until WrestleMania, and then you insert Kofi at WrestleMania, right? So who's the other wrestler in this match?
No, I think until you have Kofi battling back and forth with him, making it seem like it. But if they were going to swerve, bring KO back into the picture, but then, and I can't believe I'm going to say this because this is out of left field, have Sammy come up the SmackDown before, and Sammy be the one he faces at Mania. The returning Sami Zayn.
Sammy Daniel Bryan.
Yeah, Sammy versus Daniel Bryan.
And that would be a big old middle finger to KO.
That'd be a pretty good match, though.
Yeah, it's a great. Well, all four of them in a match would be great. I'd love for them to just put all four of them in a match.
They can't do that. They have too many people they're throwing into all these matches together to do that. Because I'm willing to put money the U.S. title match is going to have at least one, if not two more people thrown into it by the end of it.
Yeah,
And hopefully
I think-
those other
I think
two are
they're gonna do it.
Andrade and Mustafa Ali.
I agree.
Yeah, I
There's
think
no
they
way
find
it's
a way
just
to-
Mysterio. There's no way it's just Mysterio and Joe. That doesn't make
I think-
sense.
Andrade gets pulled into it from the Mysterio angle, and Mustafa comes in to attack Joe, and he gets inserted into it.
Mustafa
get a
might
fatal
win
four.
that belt.
I think he would too.
Either him or Andrade, because Ray doesn't need it.
I would be perfectly fine with Andrade winning it too, even with all the Mustafa Ali love that I got.
I think I'd actually prefer
And then
Andrade.
you let Mustafa and Andrade have a feud together afterwards for it.
Yeah, no, I think that would be really good. I think the only my only argument to what you just said, Chris, would have been, think of what it would have been if Mustafa Ali had gotten his opportunities.
I don't think it would have been to this level.
I don't think it would have been to this level either, but had he been inserted into the match after going through Elimination Chamber, what his spot was supposed to be or whatever, I think that he would have definitely earned the respect of the fans more than he has. I mean, again, I really like Kofi, but I hate that Kofi's success has slightly hindered Mustafa Ali a little bit.
But
Well-
in that defense, I don't think Mustafa Ali was ever penciled in for Mania. If it wasn't for the stuff with Kofi,
Fastlane.
I believe it was
Fastlane.
Daniel. Yeah, I believe it's Daniel versus KO at WrestleMania. I believe that's what we would have been getting, because they were talking about Daniel facing a returning superstar at Mania, and I believe it was KO. I think he would have been coming back into the picture, and they brought him back in a week or two earlier so they can throw him into the Fastlane match.
Yeah.
And then Mustafa was healthy, so they threw him into it too.
And it was a
But
good match.
It was. But I think Mustafa would have been the Fastlane match and KO would have been Mania if it wasn't for how Kofi did and how the fans reacted to Kofi.
It's going to be interesting how they lead up to Kofi getting into the Mania match. I mean, again, that's the one storyline they're actually working on. It's working. It's working really well. They did a really good job on SmackDown too.
I've been reading, and I hate when I read these things because it gets in my head, and I'm like, okay, it makes sense. But if they split up New Day, it'd be stupid if they did. But if they did, you have Kofi win, and Big E attack him at Mania.
You talking
show
about
goes.
are you talking about like the Twitter or Instagram posts that have popped up with those guys where they're talking about?
Oh,
maybe-
I read a lot of stuff. I've read articles and stuff because Vince has always been big on Big E. He likes the big guys. You let Kofi win, they're celebrating. Kofi's up on Big E's shoulders. Xavier's up on the top rope, being the hype man, and then bam, hits him with the electric chair, then just starts attacking him.
You just did Evolution.
Yeah,
Well, not just that.
You
Yeah,
just
you-
did Batista dropping Randy Orton.
You just
Yeah.
did Nia Jax dropping Alexa Bliss,
Yeah, that too.
which
but Kofi
is
does it.
you
Big
know.
E does it because he thinks he deserves it more than Kofi. And then there's your next feud.
They haven't built up to that at all. I mean, it definitely
haven't.
it would definitely be a left field turn.
And it would
Same.
be a big, oh my God moment, which they
Yeah.
love to do at WrestleMania.
Shield, break up New Day. I mean, it's that same level of like, oh wow, I can't believe they did that.
And at this point, if you give Kofi the belt now, you could still do them like you did the Shield and have Xavier down the road have a shot at the main title and have a small run, and have Big E have a shot with the main title and have a run, because they're still relatively early in their careers, where Kofi's, he's been there 15 years. He's been in the business 20 years. He might only have 10 more years, but the other ones have, 15, 20 more years.
True.
So
Oh man, Steven's starting to win me over, man. Like if Kofi, if the storyline continues as well as they're doing it, Kofi WrestleMania makes more sense than anything right now.
Yeah.
Storyline that's working the most right now.
But
And-
I don't know, man. You guys are forgetting one thing. His name is Roman Reigns.
It's funny you said that. Like, I really thought about that. I'm like, what if they just put Roman Reigns and Drew McIntyre as the last match of the night, just to be
no.
like, oh, remember, just don't you forget, these are my guys.
No, that's
don't
not
think-
how they would have you forget. They would have you not forget by having Seth Rollins be last and then having Roman Reigns heel turn on him. It's like, why are you
I
gonna?
think,
They're like, why are we gonna waste a heel turn on
Same electric chair.
Big E when we could do it with Roman Reigns?
Because Roman Reigns is on Raw, not SmackDown.
Oh yeah, we do them both. Oh, I forgot. We copy
There you go.
storylines. You got it. You nailed it. You just won me over. We call it Heelomania. They'll call it Heelomania for the rest of time. We'll either have all heels win or big major heel turns that you weren't expecting. Heelomania 35.
Have Roman get the win because you know Roman's going to beat McIntyre, and then as Roman starts to celebrate, Joe's music hits to come up for the U.S. title match, just to try to be like an F you to Roman, to get heat on Joe more and get people being like, "Oh, you know, that's a slap in his face," because they're trying to build Roman up and get the fans behind him. That is not a stab at his cancer and him coming back. That is great. I get that, but it is what it is.
Oh, Joe's crazy enough to go out there and be like say something like "Chemo boy, get out of the ring" or something like that. And oh my gosh, everybody would hate him.
You had your moment, now going back to your chemo treatment and get out of my ring or something.
Oh my gosh, I would adore that.
You're a sick man.
It's not that I'm a sick man. It's like, listen, the guy's in remission and it's great. I think it's a lot better to joke about something like that than to have a match with Natalya and Ruby Riott where like her dead father is on a table.
Yeah, that was bad.
That was pretty bad.
But then you do that, and you lay the groundwork for Joe versus Roman after the shakeup, and then because that feud, they could have did so much with that feud, and then they just kind of shit on it by the end of it too. But that it gives you big names to have Roman get familiar again and get the fans behind him again before you throw him as the big guy, the big dog as they call it. He doesn't need to be in the immediate first challenger for Seth Rollins. It doesn't need to happen.
Well,
Finn Balor.
the thing is,
The Demon.
coming out of WrestleMania, I think I'm more excited for the Monday and the Tuesday after WrestleMania right now because of all the guys that James has mentioned before. Where are they? They're still not back. They're still not in storylines. I'm wearing a shirt right now of a guy that needs to come back that we've been waiting for.
Bray Wyatt.
That he's not injured. That where is Bray Wyatt? What are you going to do with him? And I can only hope that they have something in the works that's going to be great coming out of WrestleMania for him.
I know that you're aware of this, Chris. I'm wearing a KO shirt, and I think all we have to say to anybody listening to this podcast is, let's go, fat wrestlers. We love you.
Yeah, think about it. Yeah, Joe, KO, Bray Wyatt.
Oh, they're the best.
And it doesn't have to be the main title push. It could just be a feud. Bray's trying to get his people back.
Well, he would. So you want him to go after Daniel Bryan without the title. So you have Kofi winning, and then he goes.
Harper's not back yet, though. You say his people.
Daniel.
It's one person. You need Harper to come back first.
Harper's already been back. He's been doing dark matches. They just haven't put him on the main show yet.
So then you have Harper come back, screw over Kofi. Daniel Bryan wins the title, and then on the next, what would be the next Tuesday, you have Bray Wyatt come out.
I think you have
And
Harper
they just ignore Kofi. Kofi, you lost. We're ignoring you now.
Harper and Rowan attack Kofi on the ramp. Kofi's ready for Rowan, and then Harper hits him from behind. And then Bray comes out and makes the save for Kofi to go be in the match.
Are you getting a haircut?
No, text messages coming in.
Oh. People blowing you up. Oh, I'm listening to your podcast right now. It's amazing. Oh, wait a second. This is a recording. Never mind.
I do have a buddy who said when he wants to brush up on things and he might want to be a guest on it one week. He's a big advocate.
We had a guest dog today. We had a guest squeaky toy. I mean, I think.
You know what I love is that Nick has left, by the way, but before Nick left, I was thinking, on the second episode when we had Nick on, I said that, you know, he was bad, and my reasoning behind it was that his opinions were generally bad, and he really came through when he suggested that AJ Styles and Randy Orton be, you know, the headlining match. No, Nick, you're bad. If you're listening to this afterwards, you're bad.
He's committed to the fact that he has predicted that to be the best match on the card.
He could be right. You never know. I'm just saying he's not right,
No.
and it being the headlining match.
It's the U.S. title match because if it is what we think it is, the U.S. title match will be the best match on the card because it'll have the best wrestlers put together and the best stipulation. Hopefully, if they put some kind of ladder stipulation into it.
Okay, so I want to take a little bit of a step back to NXT though. I have one question. Do you think Gargano becomes the first NXT Grand Slam champion?
No.
Yes.
No.
You think Adam Cole wins it?
I think it's Cole.
I don't think so. I don't think they want to move Gargano up, and I think they want to move Undisputed up.
I'm with
So-
James.
So here it is. You don't have to move Disputed up, and you don't have to move Gargano up. Gargano losing is the idea that he cannot get that storybook ending, and it just all depends on how long Ciampa is out for. If Ciampa's out for a year, then it makes more sense to just move on with Gargano up to the main card. But if Ciampa is going to come back still, and it's going to be soon, you don't have to move Gargano up anytime soon, and you can keep him down on NXT, and you can keep Cole down on NXT because there's still plenty of feuds that he hasn't had on NXT. I have a crowded main roster right now. Keep NXT whole. I've fought for this a bunch of times. You guys know that. Keep NXT whole, and the only way to keep NXT whole is to keep that storyline going of Gargano unable to get his story fairy tale ending.
So do you have it to where he wins it, gets caught up, and they have another tournament for it when he actually does win it? Like he gets his fairy tale moment and then he's gone? Gargano?
Gargano's going to get his fairy tale moment when he beats Ciampa.
That's not going to happen. I know you love Gargano, but I don't think he ever gets that win over Ciampa.
I think the only time he wins a main title, like a world title, is over Ciampa. I think Gargano would even fight for that. The fact that I don't want the title unless it's over Ciampa, because that's the story. That's the buildup. That's the one moment that everyone would flip out for, that I finally beat Ciampa.
But if they want to have a way to bring Ciampa back as a face, you have Gargano win it and talk shit about Ciampa until Ciampa comes back to take the belt from him.
Ciampa should never be a face.
I hope they don't do that. And I've been thinking about that too. I've been thinking, do you bring Ciampa back as a face, or should I say, will they bring Ciampa back as a face? And I don't want them to do that because he's such a great heel, but they're already showing chinks in his armor when he's posting, my heart broke a little bit because he had to forfeit his title. Like that, they're already showing that chink in the armor that, man, they're going to bring him back as a face.
It might not be a long stint as a face. He will come back as a face. And I think he will come back against Gargano, with Gargano being the champion. I just think it's going to happen. It's like, like Triple H has never beat Batista. I don't think Gargano is ever going to be able to beat Ciampa.
It's a decent comparison, but I don't see Gargano as a strong enough heel to carry that storyline, because the only reason we even started to cheer for other guys over Gargano was because of how great Velveteen's character was getting. It wasn't necessarily because Gargano was a great heel or because Aleister Black was, a great face. It was because they were just great characters and great wrestlers, and we started rooting for them.
Heel, kind of like Seth Rollins was, but he does whatever he can to win. He doesn't win because he's better than you. He takes the shortcuts and the cheap corners. He gets the cheap, easy heat, where he's like the slime ball by the end of it. And then Ciampa comes back to be instead of the Black Heart, like the Golden Heart, the knight in shining armor kind of character, where he comes in and saves the day.
I just threw up in my mouth a little bit.
Geez. You know why I hated it so much, Steven? Because it sounds right. Like it really does. Like you just basically.
And then
said-
whoever takes it from him, the hill who takes it from Ciampa gets saved by Gargano, putting them back together to bring them to the main roster.
Here's an idea. How about we just use
that.
like, stereotypical wrestling logic and just always write every storyline based on that. That's why I don't like it. Because it's just too typical. If you say, "Oh, it's got to be this," because then it's got to why? Why does it have to be that? Why?
That's how the world turns, Jimmy.
Why?
How the world turns.
Is that like a soap opera
I have
plug
no
or
idea.
something?
I don't watch soap operas. I watch wrestling.
My wife says there's no difference.
I think that you can have Gargano win. I don't think that you have to be so committed to that story that you have to, let it ruin the possibilities. I mean, just have it be a dream crash, really. Like, yeah, he's able to win the title, but he still has a chip on his shoulder because he's never beat Ciampa. But maybe he only mentions it like once and then just kind of drops it and never really talks about it again until Ciampa comes back and attacks him. Because right before he went out, he attacked Ciampa.
We'll see. There's still a lot of things time will tell.
It'll be interesting. I mean, once again, I feel like NXT is going to outdo, and we'll have a better takeover than a WrestleMania.
Well, that goes without saying. I think.
When's the last time that didn't happen?
It's
NXT wasn't a thing.
Yeah, I agree. Like, I don't remember the last time I went, man, takeover wasn't really as good as so-and-so, SummerSlam or Survivor Series or Royal Rumble.
But with the way they're going, I think we have more NXT involvement. I think at SummerSlam, we could get a triple threat women's tag match with an NXT team, a Raw team, and a SmackDown team. I think they're going to be more involved with how successful Black and Ricochet have been.
Well, they're still promoting them with NXT taglines, right? When they come out, which I like. I like that they're doing that because it's one, it promotes the NXT brand, which they're trying to push to once they get the network, once they get the Fox on, right, in the fall.
Yeah.
It's helping that whole idea that we're NXT, we're not Raw, we're not SmackDown, we're NXT, and it's not quite an invasion, but it's building the strength of the NXT roster by saying they're just as good.
They could do kind of an invasion eventually by saying we're NXT and we're better than you, kind of thing. I hate how they did with Nexus when they came in. If they do it right this time,
which was great, Nexus was great.
But instead of Cena, you'll have Roman Reigns take them all out and by himself in one match.
Yeah, and everybody will die a little bit on the inside.
Yeah.
You can bring the Shield back again.
No, it's like, hey, everybody on NXT comes up and they start dominating everybody, right? And then Roman Reigns thinks he's going to defeat everybody, and here comes Lars Sullivan to save the day.
No, God.
Oh, wait a second. I was having a nightmare there for a second, guys. Never mind.
Wake up, James. Wake up.
Was I screaming? Well,
No, you had to listen, though.
we've been talking for about an hour and a half now.
That's what I was going to say.
So,
What are our closing?
Let's do our quick little roundabout.
Closing
thing.
on Lars Sullivan.
I'm not closing on Lars Sullivan. We're closing the same way we closed yesterday. So, whether it's changed or not, or whether you have something to extrapolate on, like, I don't know, or maybe WrestleMania. Let's push towards WrestleMania. And I'm sure we've already talked about all these angles, but Chris, why don't you go ahead and reiterate or tell us what you really want to see out of WrestleMania that you can't predict quite yet.
Oh no, I'm sticking with my last week request, and that if you want to help the women's match and if you want to re-elevate the women's match, you need to add a stipulation to it. If they came out and they just figured out a way to add the stipulation of an Iron Woman match for that match, I think it would actually push it towards a more interesting main event and could even make it the main event of the night, because it's just a swerve that no one could understand. How would they even work it out? How would they finish it? Who's going to win? Because it even throws the wrinkle in there that any one of them could be the winner at the end, or you can end up with a tie and a sudden death, or a run in or interference. There's so many angles you can work with that stipulation that they need to make it an Iron Woman match. Otherwise, I'm just not interested in that match anymore.
What about a PG era hardcore match?
No. You can't do that. It's just not the same.
Oh, but I think with the women, it's not too far off. Because you don't really see them going too crazy. Well, they don't need to do too many kindas. I mean, they can do tables, they can do chairs, they can do all types of spots like that.
We'll see.
I mean,
Becky
think about
and Charlotte have done.
what you remember the Aleister Black Adam Cole match. Like, let's try to do that with 3 women. I'd say that was a pretty compelling match.
So that's yours. That's your new one this week.
Oh no! I'm just building off of. He was saying that they needed a stipulation. The ones I had come to terms with was I'm not interested in seeing the Kofi storyline or the women's tag team match be the main event. I would prefer that Seth Rollins beats Brock Lesnar, and instead of getting Roman Reigns, which is kind of what my gut is saying, what I think it will be. I think it should be the last shot where he's holding the belt in the middle of the ring, and then suddenly the Demon's music starts, and it's that slow build to SummerSlam.
I'm gonna build off of what I said last week.
What are you breathing hard for? Are you breathing hard because you're like, oh God, that could happen?
I'm breathing hard because you're wrong. That's all it is. You're wrong.
Well, it's all good. I mean, this is what I want. This is not what they're writing.
Adding gimmicks to matches, and my gimmick match I want back, the 3 Stages of Hell, have that be Kofi versus Bryan. Have it be a 3 Stages of Hell match.
That would be worth being the last match of the night.
And Kofi stands tall and Big E attacks him. And Big E stands over Kofi holding the belt up as WrestleMania goes off. So you get your big, oh my God moment. Yes, the fans love it. Kofi's champion. And then bam, you get the massive heel turn for Heat going into SmackDown on Tuesday.
That'd be good for Vince too, because you could see Vince pushing that stipulation too.
Yep.
It would be interesting. That's for sure. I think it would definitely be the main event if you could have that stipulation, but the truth is there won't be that stipulation. So how do you make it compelling enough to be...
Have Kofi win the first match and then Vince come out and say, no, this is going to be a 3 Stages of Hell. You have to do it again.
At the end of the
Or have
day...
it be, they start it and then, there's always something they could do.
At the end of the day, do we trust that? Do we trust that Vince McMahon will be like, yeah, you know what's going to headline WrestleMania? 2 really small guys fighting.
You know what makes it the headline, though? The first black world champion.
Why not just have Vince McMahon come out to the say it's going to be Kofi and Daniel Bryan at WrestleMania like next week or the week after, and then right when they start their match they go, oh, one last thing, Xavier Woods and Big E are in this match and only one person can hold the belt.
I don't like that. It's like a 3-on-1.
It's a 3-on-1. How is it a 3-on-1? I'm saying like only one person can hold the belt.
Yeah, and it's going to be a 3-on-1 until one of them tries to pick up a pin. It's going to be the 3 of them beating up Daniel Bryan until one of them has to pin the other one. It doesn't do a proper turn on all of them. It doesn't. I don't think that helps push anything. It helps develop anything anywhere.
It just gives Daniel Bryan the out to win because he pins one of them when they're beating up each other.
Well, maybe Daniel Bryan should win.
Shut your whore mouth.
There's 3 matches, and I promise you, I feel like 2 of the 3 are not going to go the way that we think they're going to go. So what's more important, Becky winning, Kofi winning or Seth Rollins winning? I know the answer is not Seth Rollins for you guys.
I don't know. I think maybe Brock can beat Seth.
All I'm saying is, like, if you have Becky not win, you can still keep the story interesting. If you have Kofi not win, you can still keep the story interesting. If you have Seth not win, you can't keep the story interesting.
Unless Brock wins and then just throws the belt down. He walks out.
Yeah, uh-huh. Why don't you just
Then
have
you
him
get another
throw it
win.
at Vince McMahon one more time?
There you go. Like he quits. He leaves.
Ways of them doing absolutely nothing for these storylines until these decisions are made. So
Yeah, we got a couple more episodes before we make our picks, and then it's going to get interesting.
it'll be interesting to see what they do this week to build on what they haven't built on yet. So they're going to have to really put some effort in this week. Otherwise, there's going to be no direction whatsoever.
Mm-hmm.
For the people listening to this podcast, I just want to emphasize that it's not that I dislike these wrestlers that they're so in love with. It's just they love them too much and they need to be brought down a peg. That's all I'm saying.
Okay. We'll see what happens.
Down to the
Big day.
man, down to Kofi Mania. Get the hell out of here. All right. Thank you, everybody, for listening today. Chris, wonderful as usual. Steven, we tolerated you. Nick, we didn't tolerate him, so we kicked him out. No, not really. He left. Always fun talking wrestling. And I enjoy the fact that we differ in opinion so much. It's a good thing. It's a very good thing.
I
Because
still love you, Steven.
if we all agreed with each other, how boring would that be?
Yeah.
But
You like every other podcast out there.
yeah. So thank you for joining us for episode 3. We will be back next week to talk Raw, SmackDown, NXT, all that fun stuff. Getting close to WrestleMania. It's coming.
Build some storylines.
Build storylines, yes.
We got to work on closing this better, y'all. We're rambling.
We are. Good night.